Paul, I started last week's interview by asking if you were frustrated. Thinking we can begin the same way today, can't we, after that? What are your thoughts?
Exactly what you said, and don't feel I'm going to say too many things different than what we've been through, talked about, and probably therein lies an issue that has to be addressed as soon as possible. Because if not, it's going to be the same type of interview week in, week out, which isn't going to be good enough. And I think sometimes we might have to hold his hands up and give opposition credit, and I don't mean anything against Mansfield, but I do feel that game was there to be won today. If it's not won, you have to take something from it. So I don't think it's that type of occasion. So yeah, the word frustrated is probably not strong enough, but that's certainly how I feel.
And it started so well with the early goal as well, Paul.
The early goal, and I thought for the majority of the first half we were the best team. We did a lot of the things that we discussed and spoke about, but I think then there's almost my frustration in that first half is we're getting some really good positions, play some good football. That last bit, we don't take enough care. It's almost like we've settled for being one up rather than, still having that mindset and that concentration. Because I don't think some of the passes were that hard to put people through on goal, and instead with the chasing to keep the ball on the end of the pitch, and that allows them to then get men behind the ball. They had a couple of things towards the end of the half. I think the shot that was sort of blocked on the line, obviously, and we spoke about that because the crowd gets up here, it gets feeds into the players, I think, in terms of giving them life and energy. And second half, obviously, didn't start the way we wanted. Kind of weathered that, and then, like I said, to lose the game in the end is frustrating. Like I said, is probably not a strong enough word.
How did you see the penalty incident in the second half?
It's penalty. It's no issues. I can't really see, but I've got no qualms over it. It's a great. I just watched it back in terms of, again, from distance, but it's great movement from an experienced centre forward in the first instance. But even then, we don't have to make the decision that was made. He's kind of, if he scores from there, then questions asked to other people. A bad decision, and then that obviously gives them a bigger lift at the start of the second half.
Thereafter, chances at both ends, and late on, George Lloyd, one moment going close with a header, and then 90 seconds, 2 minutes perhaps later, the ball's in the back of the Shrewsbury net for 2-1. Sum up your thoughts when you see that, your emotions.
Yeah, I think it was a good bit of play down the right hand side. I think it was Luca and Blocko. Good ball in. Lloydie's done great, got across his man, header, and either side of the keeper, and it goes in. But unfortunately, it doesn't. I mean, he'll be put down as a good save. He's done his job, kept the ball out, and then the other end, we've actually put a cross in the box. It then gets cleared. It's a poor attempt at a clearance to maintain pressure, pick up the second ball. Just look back there, I think we actually ends up almost, initially it's 5v4 in our favour, almost ends up 6 versus 3, and one ball gets in behind. It's a good ball. Look, if you're on their side, you're going to say it's a good ball, and it's made because Lewis has come on, made a forward run, shown that energy, and then puts the ball in the net. But it's not like we haven't got enough men back or anything like that, but we are hurting ourselves, as we've discussed before, in terms, and those situations I think we have to get certainly better at. We spoke about it. Some of our sort of defensive clearances, headers, aren't good enough, and that's allowing them then to pick up that second ball and drive at our back line.
How's Toto Enciano, who had treatment a few times today and had to go off injured in the end?
I think you probably understand at this moment in time I'm not asked that question. I think when he was apparently complaining about his bike, he's had that little bit of an hamstring sort of issue that I think is stemming from his bike. But yeah, I'm not too sure.
And the other changes just tactical. Taylor Perry coming on for Leo Castle.
Yeah, I just think they, like I said, they started the second half well, and Reid just seemed to be picking up more second balls. And I think, you know, with Charles coming off, Leo coming off, we still at that point for me where getting through a 90 minutes at a level of energy that's required, they're not quite there yet. Both contribute. I thought Charles looked a real threat at times today, looked after the ball quite well at times, and Leo's obviously again got himself, albeit, you know, really early on, but he's in the box to score the goal, and done some other good bits of play. But again, we have the squad, and I think more often than not you see some substitutes. We know we were nearly talking about an assist from Blocko, which would have been positive for him, but you know, we stood here again talking about a defeat that, for my money, I don't think we should be, but it doesn't matter what I think, it happened. So that's the reality behind it.
We spoke before the game about Josh Feeney's injury. No Tommy O'Reilly in the matchday 18 today.
Yeah.
What's the story there, the extent of the injury?
Yeah, Josh, we're not entirely sure in terms of the hamstring. It's his other one, so it's not the same one. We were hoping and thinking initially that it was just probably soreness from having, you know, just come back, played that 90 minutes, bit of training, but that's kind of lingered around longer and it ultimately became sorer. So we'll have to see how that settles down next week, I think, before we will have a better idea of what it is. And Tommy had a little bit of a tight groin. Yesterday he trained, he didn't look himself. Spoke to him yesterday, said we would check in at the hotel today. I've had a conversation with him prior to the game, and credit to him, because I don't think he's the type at all to sort of throw the towel in, but I said I needed him to be honest, and he said that it's very sore, and I think had we put him out there and then make that worse than it is, again, I can't, unless I take that decision out of his hand, I have to think that he's right and 100% to go if I'd have put him on today. And that wouldn't have been the case, so that wouldn't have been fair on the player, it wouldn't have been fair on the team. So again, we'll have to see how that settles down next week, because it's been sort of lingering for a little while. Hopefully a couple of days rest and being off it will help, and he'll be back in contention.
Just finally, Paul, it is 6 defeats out of 7 now in the opening weeks of the League One campaign. How you got to? Does it require lifting spirits of everybody? How are you going to turn this one?
It is. Look, we've got to stay together, but at the same time, I think you have to be allowed, and that's me. It's also the players, maybe some of the staff as well, to vent some frustrations. Sometimes our conversations need to be had, and some truths need to be told, because yes, there's a lot of games left, but you've got to be honest. And if we just kind of just say, oh, unlucky today, then that's not, we have to try and put things right. At the same time, as I said in my pre-match press, this has gone. Now I have to look back at it, and we'll probably on Monday look at some of the bits of play and moments that I believe weren't good enough. Just to make the players aware, because I think sometimes you think you're just making things up. That's the human nature. They don't see it because they're in the heat of the battle. But then it will be put to bed and focus on to the next game, because that's what we can affect. Whether I like it or not, I can't change today's result.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. Cheers, Stuart.